Radio Imanzi, 105.1 FM.
We got you updated. This is Radio Imanzi, news in English.
This is Radio Imanzi, broadcasting from Kigali. Here is the news in English, brought to you by Fiona Umuganwa. The headlines. Rwanda has allocated $4.7 million towards preparation to host the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that will take place in Kigali in June 2022. The Delaya Institute for Children, Peace and Security has signed with the government of Rwanda a host country agreement that will see Rwanda permanently hosting the African Center of Excellence of the Delaya Institute in Kigali. Private notaries will soon be allowed to oversee the land transactions in the country, a development aimed at making the process more accessible to many. The leaders of the European Union and the African Union, as well as their respective member heads of states, will meet for the 6th European Union African Union Summit in Brussels on 17th and 18th February 2022. Now the news in detail. Rwanda has allocated $4.7 million towards preparation to host the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting that will take place in Kigali in June 2022. The meeting, which was first set for June 2020, has already been postponed twice due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Before the first postponement, Rwanda had put aside up to $10.5 million to improve and build infrastructure needed for the event. Although this will be by far the biggest event Rwanda has hosted since it embarked on positioning itself as a meetings, incentives, conventions, exhibitions destination a few years ago, the country will be counting on the experience acquired in hosting big events like the World Economic Forum, Africa Union General Assembly meeting, and the African Development Bank meeting. Private notaries will soon be allowed to oversee the land transactions in the country, a development aimed at making the process more accessible to many. Rwanda Land Management and Use Authority has announced that private notaries have been invited to apply to start rendering the services if they meet certain requirements set by the institution. The Director General of the Rwanda Land Management and Use Authority, Esperance Mukamana, says the development comes to address challenges related to the delays that citizens faced in transaction processes. She noted that when the new system goes into implementation, the transaction processes will be cut to 1 or 2 days from the current situation where they take up to 3 weeks. The Delaya Institute for Children, Peace and Security has signed with the government of Rwanda a host country agreement that will see Rwanda permanently hosting the African Center of Excellence of the Delaya Institute in Kigali. The Delaya Institute was founded by the Canadian retired Lieutenant General and celebrated humanitarian Romeo Delaya and housed at Dalhousie University with its headquarters in Nova Scotia, Canada. The Delaya Institute for Children, Peace and Security is a global partnership committed to ending the use and recruitment of child soldiers. At the signing ceremony, the Minister of State in charge of East African Community at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Chuti Manasseh, reiterated Rwanda's commitment to supporting the cause of preventing the recruitment and use of child soldiers in armed conflicts. Romeo Dallaire, the founder of the institute, said the agreement will strengthen Rwanda's capacity locally, regionally, and everywhere where Rwanda contributes to peacekeeping troops in building a more operational capability to be deployed to prevent the use of child soldiers in conflicts. Residents of Gicumbi district are asking the authorities to fix the problems in the civil register's office. The residents claim that they are having difficulty getting services like Ubudehe categories, especially for newlyweds. They claim they are nowhere to be found in the register's system. Mayor of Gicumbi district, Nzabonima Emmanuel, says this problem may be due to a poor service provision or a technology problem, but he also assured the residents that they are going to solve this problem. Livestock farmers in Gatsibo district are struggling to sell their cattle after cattle markets in this district were closed. Farmers in Kiziguro and other sectors face the same problem as the cattle market in the Chemga cell, which was close to them, has also been closed. The farmers claim that the middlemen are defrauding those who are unable to get to the Kabarore district cattle market. The Deputy Mayor for Economic Development in Gatsibo District, Sekanyanje Jean Leonard, assured the farmers that they are finding a solution to their problem. Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi. The Democratic Republic of the Congo announced its decision to ease COVID-19 restrictions, including lifting curfews throughout the country, except in Ituri and North Kivu provinces, which are under a state of siege. DRC's health authorities said the pandemic situation across the country has improved, especially in its capital Kinshasa, which was previously considered as the epicenter of the pandemic in the country. However, health authorities fear the possible occurrence of a fifth wave between April and July, citing the low vaccination rate among the population. Chief Executive Officer of Teacher Service Commission in Kenya, Nancy Macharia, announced today that teachers in Kenya will soon have enhanced maternity and paternity leaves with full pay. New mothers will now be entitled to 120 days maternity leave, up from the statutory 90 days, while fathers will have 21 days paternity leave, up from the current 14 days. Maternity leave begins on the date of delivery, and the teacher should not forfeit her annual vacation on account of taking maternity leave. For male teachers, their paternity leave begins in the duration of their spouse's maternity leave, and the pre-adoptive leave starts on the date of adoption. Ethiopia's Parliamentary Assembly today approved a proposal to lift the state of emergency following their recall from recess. The state of emergency imposed last year had allowed the government wide-ranging powers meant to respond to the then expanding surge of the Tigray People's Liberation Front. Authorities also limited communication services and were accused of detaining suspects longer than the laws allowed. Afghanistan has undergone a dramatic transformation in half a year of Taliban rule. The country feels safer and less violent than it has in decades, but the once aid-fueled economy is barreling toward collapse. Tens of thousands of Afghanistans have fled or have been evacuated, including large numbers of educated elites. They either fear for their economic future or lack of freedom under a group that ascribes to a strict interpretation of Islam. During its previous rule in the late 1990s, the Taliban barred girls from school and women from work. The leaders of the European Union and the African Union, as well as their respective member heads of state, will meet for the 6th European Union African Union Summit in Brussels on 17th and 18th February 2022. The summit will present a unique opportunity to lay the foundations for a renewed and deeper partnership with the highest political involvement and based on trust and a clear understanding of mutual interests. Leaders are expected to discuss how both continents can build greater prosperity. The aim is to launch an ambitious Africa-Europe investment package taking into account global challenges such as climate change and the current health crisis. They should also be talking about tools and solutions to promote stability and security through a renewed peace and security architecture. Ukraine said today that its joint diplomatic efforts with Western allies have managed to avert a feared Russian invasion. This came after Russia said this morning it was pulling back some of its forces near the Ukrainian border to their bases in what will be the first major step towards the escalation after weeks of tension with the West. European leaders are headed to the region later today for last-minute diplomacy, buoyed by signals from the Kremlin that there was still a way to head off a feared invasion and avoid war. Economic news is a regular feature on Radio Imanzi. The Consumer Price Index for the month of January 2022, as published by the Rwanda Institute of Statistics. Urban Consumer Price Index increased by 4.3% in January 2022 compared to the same month of 2021. Food and non-alcoholic beverages increased by 4.5%. Housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels increased by 2.6% and transport increased by 4.7%. The Consumer Price Index for January 2022 increased by 2.1% compared to December 2021. Food and non-alcoholic beverages increased by 5.1% and housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels increased by 0.8%. The underlying inflation rate, excluding fresh food and energy, increased by 4.6% when compared to January 2021 and increased by 0.9% when compared to December 2021. The annual average inflation rate between January 2022 and January 2021 is 0.9%. The annual average underlying inflation rate is 2.1%. Rural Consumer Price Index decreased by 0.8% on annual basis and increased by 2.9% on monthly basis. Overall, the Rwanda Consumer Price Index increased by 1.3% on annual basis and increased by 2.5% on monthly basis. The Rwanda Stock Exchange Market Review of today. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 30,870,000 Rwandan francs worth of bonds traded in one deal on the fixed income market and 2,020,500 Rwandan francs from 20,100 shares traded in 3 deals on the equities market. The Bank of Kigali counter closed at 245 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 856,500 Rwandan francs from 3,500 shares traded in one deal. I&M Bank closed the counter at 45 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 513,000 Rwandan francs from 11,400 shares traded in one deal. Bralirwa closed the counter at 125 Rwandan francs. The trading session recorded a total turnover of 650,000 Rwandan francs from 5,200 shares traded in one deal. Equity Bank closed the counter at 440 Rwandan francs. Kenya Commercial Bank at 370 Rwandan francs. Simerwa at 120 Rwandan francs. MTN Rwanda at 180 Rwandan francs, National Media Group at 120 Rwandan francs, Uchuri Supermarket at 104 Rwandan francs, and RH Buffalo closed the counter at 526 Rwandan francs as the market closed. The currency market review of today. The Kenyan shilling buy price was 8.8 Rwandan francs, and the selling price was 9 Rwandan francs. Tanzanian shilling buying price was 0.43 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.44 Rwandan francs. Ugandan shilling buying price was 0.28 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.29 Rwandan francs. Burundian franc buying price was 0.5 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 0.51 Rwandan francs. The US dollar buying price was 1,004 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,024 Rwandan francs. The British pound buying price was 1,359 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,386 Rwandan francs. The euro buying price was 1,136 Rwandan francs and the selling price was 1,159 Rwandan francs. With that, we come to the end of tonight's edition.